Welcome back to your number one source for information, education, inspiration on the most underrated career opportunity in business today. That is a career in the insurance industry. You are listening to the You Should Get a License podcast edition. This is Rod Powell. Today, very excited for our guest. The young lady who I'm going to be speaking with is a 25-year veteran of this business. But, you know, when you see her, you would not believe that she's been in this business for 25 years, unless she started when she was like 10 years old or something.
Well, you know.
But she is the founder of ACO Insurance Consulting. She's the principal of ACO Insurance Brokerage. And she is also one of the 2022 Insurance Business Association's Elite Women of 2022. And for those who need to know what elite means, it's the select group that is superior in terms of ability and qualities to the rest of a group or society. And she certainly is one of the elite. Also, 2022 winner of Global 100 of Insurance Business Magazine. She is critically acclaimed when you talk about a change agent, a thought leader in this industry, in this space. Her passion for insurance is only matched by her passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, where she is also a champion, serving on several national boards, including National African American Insurance Association. She's the creator of the Black Men in the Insurance Industry, Black Women in the Insurance Industry, the conferences that are related to those organizations, as well as Black Friday, which by the time you're listening to this, you know, you'll know about Black Fridays that are happening, you know, all around the country. But so excited to have her on for a conversation. I want to welcome to the You Should Get a License podcast, Miss Ngozi Nnaji. How are you doing?
What it do, bruh? What it do? I'm so happy to be here with you today. You don't even know.
Listen, you are an inspiration. There are certain people that you meet, and you know, just, you know, when they speak, you know, when you see them, when you see the impact they're making, like, yo, they're special. You know, they're a history maker, and you certainly are that. So thank you for the time today. Your career, I think this is going to be an exciting conversation because your career is so expansive. You know, you were starting, you know, as an underwriter initially, which we'll talk about, and then kind of branching into building your own brokerage, and then moving into the consulting firm and everything that's kind of happened and transpired along the way. So where I'll start is, you know, for this forum, it really is speaking to individuals who may be looking at coming into this industry. Mm-hmm. And, you know, what might they face? You know, what should they be, you know, kind of what kind of mindset, you know, should they prep themselves to have, and what kind of paths, you know, and opportunities are available to them. So I want to just start by talking about where you are right now on the consulting firm, like what you do, you know, what your focus is, what your area of specialty is, and then we'll kind of go back and kind of build up to how you got to that point.
So, you know, it's funny because, and, you know, you and I, we're straight shooters. And so I don't think I've ever really like told the story the way I'm about to tell it now around kind of the consulting side of what I do. Yeah. You know, as you mentioned, 25 years in the business, you know, over time, you gain some knowledge, right? You gain a little bit of wisdom if you're doing it right. Right.
That's right.
And so it dawned on me when you know, with the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, I was at the time the president of the Greater Hartford chapter of the National African American Insurance Association. And in that role, you know, over the years prior, you know, people would call looking for information, mm-hmm. right? You know, Ngozi, like, where can I find this? Where can I do this? You know, tell me about this, what do you need to know? And initially, you know, it was okay, right? Like, you answer, you respond, you give information. But again, with the murder of George Floyd, there became an influx of these inquiries, right? And I started scratching my head, like, I'm giving this away for free. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's taking up 40 to 60 hours of my week, but I'm giving this away for free. And you know, there's a part of me that said, not that you need to monetize everything, but I do think, you know, people value information more if they got to pay for it, right? If they have to exchange something for it. And so that's when I started to really think about my network, my influence, the leverage that I had in the positions that I was holding in various different boards and leadership positions, and really thought it wasn't more about making money for myself, even though, you know, we're hustlers, right? Like,
We gotta live.
right? When you become an independent agent, it's all about the hustle. But it
No.
was really about how can I make this more meaningful, right? How can I make this so that when people approach me and ask, they think before they ask, right? And I challenged their intentionality by saying, well, you're gonna have to cough up a little bit of cash in order to get this, right? And so that's where, you know, I really started to think about this consulting firm and what it could be and the impact that it could have. Because if I got people to think before they spend or think before they asked, then they would be more purposeful about using the information I gave them, because they knew in that conversation, I would hold them accountable for the use of that information. And so with that being said, that gave me the opportunity to launch all these initiatives, right? Because now not only was I creating a pathway in which I can fund it, right? Finance all these initiatives. But again, it just gave me the opportunity to challenge people about their intentionality and their purpose, so that we can make progress in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. So ACO Insurance Consulting, you said stemming from, you know, George Floyd, and obviously, you know, that was, look, these are things that have been present in society for
a long time,
forever. I mean, since we landed on the shores, right? Since the birth of the country. But what was it about that moment, you know, that said, hey, I need to really kind of step out? Because at that point, you're still running your brokerage, right? I mean, what was there an initial desire to move into that space anyway? You said, okay, now the timing is right, or was it just like, hey, enough is enough? This needs to happen now.
I think it was a convergence of all of the above, right? Like, so to your point, the issues around diversity, and I'm using quotation marks here because it's much more than just diversity, but you know, for the sake of conversation, I mean, it's been going on for a long time in our society. It's been going on for a long time in our industry, whether we want to recognize that or not. But even just as a Black woman, right? Just period, it's been going on for a long time in my life. And so I think you know, although, you know, you don't want to kind of, you know, this tragedy around George Floyd, right, is an unfortunate event. And so we don't want to like kind of, you know, maximize and create profit and do all these things. But I think there is some positive that comes out of it, right? And I think part of that positive nature was that there was a different kind of awareness. Not that there wasn't awareness before, and that, you know, obviously there could be more awareness, but it was different this time a little bit, right? Because you had companies now, especially, and I'm kind of catering more to our industry, you had companies who are now willing to put their brands at risk, right, to stand up. Now, granted, you can question 2.5 years later, okay, what are they doing? That's a whole nother conversation. But at least on the onset, right, they were willing to put their brands at risk, which was very something we've never seen that before in the US. And so it was really, again, between enough is enough, I need to do something, to, oh, wow, they're really listening, a lot of them, some of them, to what could we do if we really took advantage of all this, right? What impact could we have? And that's why I was like, yo, forget it. We're just gonna do it. We're gonna see what comes out of this. Because what I also recognize, and no shade on the industry, but this is seasonal. This is temporary, right? At some point, our industry is going to shift its mindset, and something else is going to rock us to make us focus on the next thing, right? Whatever that looks like. And maybe this diversity conversation will come back again in another 10 years. I don't know, right? It is very, you know, what do you call it? I can't even think of the word.
Yeah, I mean, it's cyclical.
Cyclical. That's the word I was looking for. Think of it. But, you know, in this moment, I wanted to do something. And so what I knew is I call them my clique, you included, right? Like I had this network of Black professionals at my disposal, right? And you know, fingertip reach that I could call on, who were feeling the way I was feeling, who was frustrated the way I was frustrated, who wanted to have impact the way I wanted to have impact, but we just needed to organize ourselves. Like we were dealing with so many emotions at that point, right? But we needed to figure out how to use those emotions for purpose and for good, right? Get into some good trouble. And so again, all that coming together, I was like, boom, here it is. My firm itself had already been established. It was established in March of 2017, but I was focused on conventional insurance consulting, right? Where, we were the third parties that come in that look at the insurance program. We tell you what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, right? That kind of thing. And I was like, I totally ditched that. I was like, forget that. We're about to do something different.
Yeah.
We're about to do something different. So
it's a completely different approach, which is why I was like, well, you were running, your agency actively, and then to kind of shift, not to completely switch gears, but it's like you really kind of changed the focus and trajectory of where you were taking your business and the way that you communicate from, the client focus of making sure that your risk is managed properly to, I'm going to go to a company that is actually writing that business and say, hey, what are you doing internally in your structures?
Correct.
Did you find that it was well, you mentioned, having the networks already. Did you find that companies being receptive, to the climate, were open to take that advice? And the second part of that is in being held accountable, willing to take the actionable steps. And is that something that still continues now as we kind of lukewarm from the epicenter of 2020?
So I ain't gonna call out no names.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of lip service going on. I'll just put it like that. A lot of lip service going on because I think, they didn't expect there to be someone like me on the back end of that statement they put on social media saying, okay, yeah. I mean, you can tell us that you're doing something, but really, what are you really doing? Yeah. And then when I ask you to do something that's meaningful for me as a Black agent, for a Black insurance professional, and you balk at it, then how are you really showing up for me, right? Because I'm telling you what I need. I'm telling you what you need to do for me. I'm telling you how you can make me thrive and survive in this industry that has shunned me for so long, but you say no? Yeah. Wait a minute now. What are you really doing? And so, yes, I will say there's a number of companies that are still struggling with the accountability component, but there are some companies, and I will say few, that are willing to be vulnerable, that understand that that's what it takes. And if they make a mistake, so be it, right?
Absolutely.
It's all about, I was at an IICF conference last week, and they were talking about, kind of rupturing, right? So you tear down, but you got to repair. And so there's these vulnerable companies that are willing to kind of, maybe they made a misstep, maybe they said the wrong thing, maybe they made the wrong action, but it's that repair part, right? They say, okay, I acknowledge that, I take accountability for that and responsibility for that, but I'm going to do right the next time. I'm progressing through this and learning through this. Because again, in an industry that has never accepted diversity as kind of a number one initiative, there are going to be some missteps. Everybody's not going to know what to do and how to do it. And so to answer your question, yes, even 2 years ago, there were companies that were like, oh, no, see, you don't understand. Our intent was only to put up that statement. we weren't going to do anything. Come on, are you serious? Right? Like behind closed doors, you're like, really? That really came out of your mouth?
Yeah, I didn't even know we put that up. Oh,
right, exactly.
PR department put that up.
Right, I didn't even know, right? Leaders in the organizations didn't even know. But we still have that happening today.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of clients where I do some DEI consulting and do some assessments within cultures and, challenge them around having, these cultures that create fear, right? And they need to do some changing immediately. And they've told me, no, we're good. But you're creating cultures of fear, right? Like, how can you be good with that, right?
Right.
Where you got employees who don't even want to speak up because they're, scared of, retaliation of some degree. So how do you deal with that? But
yeah, it's interesting because, some of the conversations that we have, in other forms are about, recruiting and getting more, Black people, more African Americans to join the insurance industry, right? Like to just get people engaged in the business.